Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 7th meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission. Will the staff secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner Ponchal? Commissioner Stearns?
Here.
Commissioner Esparza?
Here.
Commissioner Bridge?
Here.
Commissioner Suchek?
Here.
Commissioner Pollock-Cushing?
Here.
Commissioner Renee I'm going to mess it up, and I just said it. Borowiak?
Here.
Commissioner Alexander?
Thank you. Commissioner Pollock-Cushing, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4 on tonight's agenda, we will now open up the public comment period. Can the secretary please read the procedures for addressing the commission tonight?
Speakers have 3 minutes under public comment to speak on issues that are not listed on the agenda and are within the city's jurisdiction. The Brown Act does not permit any action or discussion on items not listed on the agenda.
Thank you. Opening up for a public comment, is there anyone who would wishes to address the commission tonight? Come on up.
So, Madam Chair, I believe, are you talking on something that is already agendized on the agenda?
No.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
I suddenly feel awkward doing this.
Welcome.
I've never done this before, so it's a whole new thing. So do I just jump in?
Yep, jump on in.
Awesome. So my name is Cody DeArkland. I'm the father of 2 beautiful little girls, 8 and 6, and I live in the Winding Creek community in Roseville. Something that has been going around our community recently is some discussion around Park C60 versus C63. C63 is literally right out my front door. I could bounce a ball and roll it about 10 feet and be in the middle of it. It's currently full of random bits of construction garbage and weeds and general things that make us pretty unhappy. Recently, we heard that the preference is, or historically, has been to build parks directly attached to schools in the regions as they come up. So C60 is on site where a school is going to be placed right across the Westbrook Bridge. This is really challenging for us as a community. Moving into a community of something different, or a brand new community was something very interesting for me to experience, being that I lived in Roseville in established communities since I was 12. So I've been here for a very long time. It's been interesting to figure out how to build a community in a place where there's not a lot of places for community members to come together. There's significant houses in the area already, but we don't really have anywhere to go other than the walking paths. So hearing that the potential of a park being placed at a school where there's no foundations even poured yet was really challenging for many of us in the community and in our general Facebook group that we've created to process. So we've had a lot of frustration around that, and I think a number of us have reached out, and we've gotten some very, very good dialogue and very fair explanations back that it's generally a lot easier to build these at the same time as the school is being built. It helps the entire community as a whole. I'm really here to just plead our case and say that there are many of us that live there today. We were early adopters of this community, and like myself, many of us have children. Again, my daughters are 8 and 6. If we wait, I think the paperwork currently shows about 6 years before it'd be started. My 8-year-old will be 12, probably 14 by the time it's done. It's a challenge for a lot of us. I think what we've been told is that the park at C60 is meant to serve the entire community as a whole, but we're here now. We've moved in now, and we adopted early to be a part of this community and try to build something in a newer development of Roseville. So again, just really trying to plead the case and tell a story of a father who's trying to give a place for his kids to play right across the way. Many of us bought our houses based on the idea of this being here. There's a sign sitting in the corner of the park that says coming soon. I don't think anybody would disagree that 6 to 8 years is definitely not soon. I know that's not the city's fault. That was a builder choice to put the sign there. But many of us made our decisions based on this. So that's what I have to say tonight. I appreciate everyone for giving me the time and the space to talk about it. So, love living in Roseville.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions, right? Does anybody on the commission have questions, or is there anybody from staff that would like to address this in any way?
Share the process.
So we appreciate the fact that you're here, and we want to build the park ourselves as well. Creekview is very new, and so one of the things we have to look at is fund balances and what's been collected. And so we've been doing the analysis, and we reevaluate everything every year during the budget cycle. So we continue to do that. We are working with the developer as well to not only clarify things, but also to provide accurate information to future home buyers. So we're working on it. So can't say that I have an answer for you right now, but we are doing the analysis, fee projections, and forecasts.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Question, comment?
I just have a quick question. Is that a typical timeline for a new development and like to be announced, and then like a school and the park to be built in like a 6 to 8 year time frame, or is that?
Well, it's all a forecast, and so every year, again, we adjust it. What we know today is that the school district is preparing to break ground in 2024, and so we're anticipating and working toward that. But again, that being said, we have to look at how quickly the funds can support the parks and the development from that. And so sometimes it goes faster than we predict. That's why we look at it every year. And sometimes it, goes slower because of recession or inflationary factors or whatever. So nothing's ever a done deal until it's done.
And I will add to that Tara will share a park development process presentation early next year, so our new commissioners that come on board can kind of understand the process as well. You're all familiar with the fact that when permits are pulled for new home development, there's a fee associated with that, and those fees are what are collected to build the park. And then once the residents start inhabiting those homes, they pay the fees that help us maintain those parks. So much of our timeline on how we build parks is, again, based on the development and how many permits have been pulled and how many residents have lived there. If we have the money to build a park, we will certainly and maintain it, I should say, the money to build and maintain it. We're eager to get that done. I think one of the questions here, and Cody, you can clarify, is the fact that on our timeline we had C60 first because we wanted to have that park, that construction coincide with the school construction. And your desire would be that we flip that around and do C63 first.
Yeah, the hope would be C63 first, since there's residents living there now. There's no foundations even poured in the C60 area, so C63 has a community that's got a sizable amount of homes in it. So that would be the hope, that we would prioritize C63 over C60.
And so again, just to reiterate what Tara says, every year we look at those fund balances and see what we can afford to build in the coming years. So all of your residents' comments have been very much appreciated.
I just had a question. Is it an eyesore? Is that the problem, or is it more just that the park isn't there? I mean, like, if you look at it from your house, is it an eyesore that just needs maintenance or something?
I don't think there's any way to truly maintain it right now. It's a huge field.
Do you want to step up to the podium to? Yeah, awesome.
I don't think that there's actually a way necessarily to maintain it that great right now. It's a huge field of weeds, and a huge field. It's about the size of a football field probably of weeds right now. I think it's a construction area, so debris fly in there, and they are out there. I'd say once every few weeks, probably once a month, cleaning that up and doing their diligence. I'm not so much concerned about the eyesore. We all knew it was going to take several years to be there. I think if we felt like there was a plan, and that it was a reasonable time frame, 6 to 8 years is a long time to stare at a field that's going to collect garbage and collect animal things and all that. So.
Okay.
And Tara, is it a developer? It's going to be a developer-built park, or is it a city-built park?
It will be a city-built park.
Oh, okay.
The developer currently owns the project or the property.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you.
Thank you for the time, everyone.
All right. Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission tonight? Please come up to the podium if you do. Good evening.
Hi there, my name is Jeremy Suku. I've been in touch with Jill and Tara on the same issue, the Winding Creek Park 63. We have a couple of dozen residents that are interested in coming here and sharing their comments. I just wanted to come today so I can understand how it works. So I can relate to some of the other residents how, but I can, just to let you know, we expect to kind of be here beginning of the year as the budgeting unfolds. We understand that based on some of the public information on the Roseville website for the budget, it looks like there is several hundred thousands of dollars been generated for the parks already based on building permits from the south of the creek where residents are living. And so the hope of the residents, at least the ones that I've spoken to, have been to use the resources generated so far to fund the park in the area rather than the park that's not a walkable distance away. So just to let you know, thank you very much for your thoughtfulness and mindfulness on the matter, and looking forward to working with you on this.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else like to come up to the podium for a public comment tonight? All right. If not, we will close the public comment period. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. The next item on the agenda is the approval of last month's meeting minutes. The October Parks and Rec Commission meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Approve. Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. All right. Heading now into item 6.1 for tonight. This is regarding park name recommendations, and Tara G. will be presenting.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to share the recommendations of the Park Naming Subcommittee. The action tonight is to approve the park name recommendations for several parks targeted to start construction in this coming fiscal year, and forward these on to the City Council for final approval. We have 4 different recommendations tonight, so I will do one at a time, pause after each one, and allow you to have a discussion and perhaps do a vote or a motion. So the first one is NC 57 Dog Park, and it is located off of Antelope Creek. The recommendation is Apollo Dog Park. The naming of this dog park is following the precedents of naming our dog parks after police canines. Canine Apollo served for 10 years and is now retired. Canine Apollo was trained in tracking, apprehension, and drug detection. He was also the police department's first canine that was assigned to work directly with the SWAT team. Apollo and Canine Officer Scott Mizuwitz frequently were seen at community events and demonstrations. Apollo retired a few years ago and recently passed. Our dog parks, the ones that have names, are named again after retired Roseville Police Department canines, so this would be a fitting tribute to Canine Apollo and his service to the community. So I'll pause now and turn it back to you for any comments or questions.
Sounds good. So we'll open up to the commission for comment. Is there anybody who'd like to comment on this item?
Yeah, I can go first if that's all right. I wasn't aware that's an ongoing tradition where we will name a dog park after a retired canine officer. Okay, well, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, Marco and Bear were both police canines.
Learned something new.
Anybody else? No? All right, open up for public comment. Is there anybody in the public that would like to come up? Talk about this one? No? All right. I guess that means we will take this to a vote. We'll open it up for a vote from the commissioners. Do we have a motion to approve the name of the Apollo Dog Park?
I'll make a motion to approve Apollo Dog Park.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion pass.
All right, so the next two recommendations are somewhat related. Both facilities are intended to be regional draws across the region and the city, and there are potentials to hold state national tournaments along with the opportunity to allow for naming rights perhaps in the future. If naming rights occur, for example, Jill has used Amazon Sports Complex, the sponsorship would help offset operational costs. The subcommittee was very careful that should this occur, these facilities being named after an individual or a family would be replaced. And so we wanted to be very sensitive to that. Also, the subcommittee felt it was appropriate to recommend names that would be more generic and recognizable by all. So the first site, her recommendation, is the park site off of Gibson Park. And off of Gibson Road. And so it's on Gibson and Roseville Parkway. Ultimately, the park will have 12 pickleball courts, 10 tennis courts, and 3 basketball courts, all lit. These courts are going to be a sports courts complex, and so the subcommittee recommends that the site be named the Gibson Sports Courts. And this would be in reference to the street name that this facility is located. So again, I'll pause for a moment and turn it back over to the commission for discussion.
All right. So is there anybody on the commission here that would like to comment?
Go ahead. I keep going first. You go, please, Roy.
Actually, I like it because it is self-descriptive of the function that goes on there. And so when somebody makes a reference to something that's going on at Gibson Sports or Roseville Sports, it's clear what it's all about and where you should look for it. I'm in favor of it.
And I have a question. I think you mentioned that it's a possibility for a sponsorship if some entity wants to have their name associated with it, and that would help fund it. Do we have any other examples of that, of parks in our community?
This would be new for us, so
Concept.
no, we have not had that. But we're thinking right now that these sports facilities are larger. The next one I'm going to talk about is the largest complex that we've built since I've been here, and I don't think there was anything bigger than that before that. So, again, we want to be open to the opportunities, and it wouldn't be to build the facility, it'd be to help offset the operational costs.
Would that be something that you think would possibly change from like every 5 years, or would it just stay?
You want to answer that?
It could possibly change every 5 years. If we go down this road, and we're developing a policy right now to establish what this would look like, it's possible that we would have a contract with the naming rights sponsor, and it might be a 5-year contract, it might be a 10-year contract. And so, yes, it could be that it changes from, I'm naming company names with no intention of them being the ones, but it could change from Amazon Gibson Sports Courts to Walmart Gibson Sport Courts. And so that's why we want to have that recognizable name that's always attached to it, but also allows maybe a corporate name to be tagged on as well. Our desire would be that it not change every 5 years, but as you've seen with many of the bowl games and other things that have
that's kind of what I was
sponsorships,
saying, stadiums.
those change occasionally. Stadiums, they change occasionally.
Get out your checkbook.
I don't mind I like the naming of Gibson to say because it tells you where it's at. But I'm not feeling just the Gibson Sports Courts name, to be honest. Doesn't sound like a park or a place to go necessarily.
Well, is it just courts, or is it?
It's basketball and tennis and pickleball, I guess.
Yeah, but not any other typical park amenities. I'm saying.
Does it attract people from outside the area?
It could, especially if we light the pickleball courts.
Yeah,
So yes, it is intended to be a sports courts facility. It's not your typical neighborhood park where we have play areas and picnic areas and things like that. Of course, we'll have support amenities for those courts, but the focus is sports courts.
And sorry, I cut you off. So I
No,
didn't finish the thought.
Yeah, just something about the the name just doesn't sound right to me. I'm not. I don't have a replacement in mind, but that not a fan of this one.
Okay. Anybody else have a comment?
Well,
or a
is there
question?
a deadline in mind? Or I know you wanted to put this to a vote for city council, and if a few of us aren't in agreement with the name, what's the process there?
Process, we can present 2 names to the city council for review and recommendation. The timing is the project's out to bid, and so we certainly don't want to delay it unnecessarily, but certainly if you put it to a vote, and we can share the vote also, that if it's supported or not.
If I remember correctly, we could forward up to 3 names, correct?
Correct.
So are there any names that we would want to forward along with the Gibson Sports Courts? Was there a couple
names in
other
your
ones in
packet.
here
They have
within?
to be on the 21 or 22 list.
What part of the Gibson, is it just the courts part? Is there a certain part of
It
it?
sounds not.
Is there a word we could replace?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. It just
Yeah.
doesn't sound right to me. But
Well, if I could-
Because that's not a recommended name.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it may not sound right because it's so different, and it's not like anything we've ever done before, like Joe was saying, or Tara was saying, but maybe because of that, that sounds weird to us. Maybe.
It's going. I'm going to go play basketball at the Gibson Sports Courts. Doesn't.
Does it flow?
No.
It rhymes though. Come on, it rhymes.
Maybe this is a chance for the super happy fun time.
Not doing it.
Just don't go there again.
I mean, even if it was like the courts at Gibson Park, or I don't know, just something that sounds more like a place than just a. But anyway, that's.
It almost sounds commercial, like a for-profit gym that you would go to, I guess, in a little bit of a way, in the way it's currently worded. So if you restructure some of the words, I think it might sound more like a park.
Yeah.
It doesn't flow off your tongue when you say it readily either. It's a mouthful to say.
Do you think it should be named after a person?
No, I don't think it's. I don't think just needs to be named after a person. Just the Gibson Sports Courts isn't working for me. But
What
I do like
strikes
the
you? What
Gibson.
name comes to mind off the top of your head?
I think you can work with those. Like I said, I don't know if it's the Gibson Courts complex. I don't know. It's
It's the courts part you don't like?
the sports courts description is not my cup of tea there. But you guys don't have to listen to me. So
We can vote over you. Huh?
This one designates an area too, does it not?
Yeah.
The Gibson area.
Yeah,
Drive.
Gibson Drive. There's a couple of options that you can explore, and one is to take it off of this recommendation and postpone it till next month. Another is to, share an option, and we can forward, like Regina said, up to 3 names to the council. So it's, there's a couple options you have, or you can vote to outvote Matt.
Oh my.
Well, there was a couple other ones in the summary. There's Sports Courts Park, Sports Courts Central, Sports Courts Plaza. Is there any other ones that, if you look at that summary page,
no, I think it's the sports courts. Is
courts
Yeah.
that's the problem?
Courts, complex. That's the next one, though.
Yeah. I think the challenge is the courts, the word courts or sports courts identifies what is there as opposed to the fields, right? And that's probably part of the reason for that, even though it may not kind of trip off the
Right.
tongue a little bit. So
Well,
are you guys feeling like we're at an impasse and we should postpone this, or?
well, not to disagree with my good friend here, but I actually like the name. I think the name works well, but I was trying to sympathize and see if there was a reason why you're
No, just
at an impasse, but it's a fairly good name.
Well, courts is self-descriptive of what's there.
yeah.
Or what about like something like the sporting courts at Gibson Drive or something?
Still doesn't get away from sports courts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just this with the sports courts for me. But again, don't let me hold you guys up.
So let me ask, how many are having a trouble with this name? If we're mostly in agreement, I think we might want to just put it to a vote if we don't feel strongly that we need to postpone it.
I'm okay with the name.
Are we looking for a motion, or are we looking for?
I guess I'm trying to figure out if there is a motion to be had, or
And
if.
public comment first.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
that's, yeah.
Could call
All right.
it the Bruce Hodeshed Park.
I'll tell you what, we'll come back to that. We'll open it up for public comment and see if, is there anybody here that would like to comment on this particular item?
Hard to hear.
Okay.
I tend to agree with Matthew. Haven't met before, so I tend to agree. I think it does sound a little bit. Coming from a marketing background, I tend to think it does feel very, very brandy to be called that way. I really liked. I think you threw out the idea of like the courts at Gibson Drive. I think that sounds really interesting. I think that growing up here, when I think of the courts, I do think of sporting automatically. So I think you could hypothetically lean in on that a bit. But I do think sports court sounds a little brandy. So I'd probably agree with the perspective just as a resident.
Thank you.
Is that something we would like to, thank you, yes. Is that something we'd like to add as a second option? Something along those lines? The courts at, I mean.
That's what I was
Yeah.
getting at, so.
I kind of like that one.
Yeah.
I mean, we can certainly add it to the list.
What's that name again?
So I think the courts at
Gibson Drive?
or Gibson Park or something
Gibson?
along those lines.
Yeah, because the other thing that was running through my head is if there was a naming opportunity, again, we'll use the Amazon name, even though nobody get this idea that they're coming. But, just to use it as an example, you could do, but does it then flow to say Amazon Courts at Gibson Drive, or is it, the Amazon Sports Courts? I'm just trying to see how it plays out with that potential. Please, yes.
I think the redundant word is sports. Can we just call it the Amazon courts or the Gibson courts?
No, that's what we just said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Take out the word sports.
All right. So do we want to do 3 different ones? Gibson Courts, Gibson Sports Courts, and the courts at Gibson Drive? And forward all 3 of those?
Yeah, I'll.
People comfortable with that?
I like that.
Okay. All right. So let's see if we can do this motion here. So I'm going to open this up for a vote for the commissioners. Do we have a motion to approve 3 names to go forward to City Council for formal approval? Options being Gibson Courts, Gibson Sports Courts, and the courts at Gibson Drive. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any opposed, or all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we've got it. Thank you, everyone. Okay,
Next, all right, we have a 51-acre, 10-Longfield soccer complex, which is located off of Westbrook Drive in Brookstone. It's immediately west of the wastewater treatment plant. This is planned to be a premier facility used by local sports groups for various Longfield sports, as well as a venue for tournaments. The use of this complex will be an economic driver for the city of Roseville. The subcommittee therefore recommends that this facility be named the Roseville Sports Complex. The recommendation recognizes that not only soccer, but lacrosse, rugby, flag football, and other sports that can be played on a rectangular field can be played at this location. So I'll pause again and turn it back over to the commission.
all right. So opening it up to the commission. Any questions, comments?
No, you go first. I've gone first many times.
I'm sorry. This one I felt needed a little bit more to it as well, even if it was something along the lines of Roseville Longfield Sports Complex, or I think there was a good suggestion in here somewhere.
The grand champions.
No, it was just like West Roseville Athletics
West
Park.
Roseville
I liked
Athletics
that
Park.
as well. The Roseville Sports Complex didn't
Is this
Didn't
one
seem to work.
potentially a naming rights opportunity as well? So we have that in play as well?
Correct. And the shorter the existing name, the better we can meld it with any potential.
West Roseville, those identify though where, because it's in West Roseville.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm late on this because I probably should have submitted a name or had someone I know submit a name for this one, but they're soccer fields. To me, I know that there's other fields, but they're probably going to be, that's probably the more popular of the sports that's going to be used for there. And I grew up playing soccer in Roseville, and I think of one name when it comes to a family or three brothers that exemplify soccer in this area and have been leaders not only from youth all the way up to professional, and that's the Alcala brothers that are still in the community. And I think it would be a great park to recognize them for the accomplishments they've had, but also all the stuff they've put back into the soccer community. So I mean, it's not on the list, but I would like to see the name Alcala represented for this park somehow.
Well, thank you for that suggestion. Unfortunately, we have to go off the list of the submissions. So we would, if we really felt strongly about it, we'd have to postpone naming it, the complex. We are hoping to break ground in the spring of 2023, and it'll be about an 18 to 24 month process, construction process.
And I think that's a great sentiment there, but my concern would be is if you name it after them and then you'd get a naming rights come in, do you take it away and that type of thing? So
Yeah.
there could always be an option to put a bench or something a
Something to
snack
do with the
center or
park.
something to do with it there. Maybe that would fit, but I still think the sports complex probably needs to be a little bit more specific to either the location or in West Roseville or the type of sports that would be played there.
And also, if this is going to be attracting people traveling from outside the community, I like the fact that West Roseville is kind of in the name, because if that's kind of the point, is to get soccer tournaments and all that going there. So at least that identifies the area of Roseville for people from out of town.
Anybody else?
Well, I was thinking about what they were saying, and there's, naming it after some people who have been spearheading the soccer endeavor in this city is, I think, a nice idea. I'm wondering if you could just work that into the name somehow, the Roseville Alcala Brothers Soccer Complex. I remember we did that at a couple of state parks, like the Edward Zeeberg Sugar Pine Point State Park. We added a name into the complex. We wanted it to kind of be, everybody knew that it was always Sugar Pine, and we didn't want to change away from that name. And I like the fact that it's mostly soccer fields there, right? And I like having that name in there because it tells people that's where we play soccer. That's where the regional people and others from out the area come with their teams to play soccer. So I like having the description of the name of the sport in there, but I also kind of like the name of people who have been instrumental in moving this sport along in this community.
Remind me, there's soccer fields, but there's also other sports that
Could be played on it.
could be played, right? So you may have a lot of different kinds of tournaments.
Yes.
And
I would-
just as clarification, they will be permanently lined for soccer. So to state it simply, they are soccer fields, but they are long fields. And so you could play flag football or rugby or all the sports that Tara mentioned, but soccer is the primary use.
Oddly, I kind of like the name Longfields, just in and of itself. I mean, it's kind of gets us away from the sports thing, but yeah, that's me. All right.
I think that this is going to be like the crown jewel of the Roseville Park system. So honestly, a lot of these names on the list just don't sound as exciting. Like, I feel like it needs a little more rah type of, name. And I like that it's West Park, and I just think that the name needs to be a little
Your
more
packet.
exciting than just Roseville Sports Complex or, West Roseville Athletics Park, just like a little something to pop a little bit.
Any other suggestions? I mean, we can forward up to 3 options to City Council.
I believe we should take public comment for this if we haven't already.
Okay. Public comment? We'll open that up for public comment. Anybody? No? All right. Closing the public comment then. Thank you. So are we feeling the need to postpone the decision on this one? Or do we think we can forward 3?
If we were to postpone, what would that mean? Like, would we have to go back and figure out other names or draw from another list? Or what would postponing mean, basically?
Well, postponing can mean a couple things. If you are if there's a preference to name it after something or someone that's not on the list, then we only open up submissions or suggestions once a year, and that's every July. So we'd have to wait. Now, one of the things that I would be a little cautious about waiting is because we're going to move forward, and it takes some time to get the name out, get excitement about the name. We're going to be building toward that. We would be working with Placer Valley Tourism to attract tournaments at our estimated completion date. So we want to get that out as early as possible.
So if we put the name Akala in, we'd start over.
You'd start all over, yes.
When did they break ground on it?
Spring of '23.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to hold that up. I mean, it's more important to have the field so the kids can play on
We
it.
wouldn't not break ground because we don't have a name, but I'm just encouraging that
Right.
perhaps we don't wait till July to do it, all over. Now, if there's a preference to think about it for, a month and come back here in December to talk about some alternative names, we can do that too.
And I might also offer, it's going to be a big complex. There will be other naming opportunities. There could be field naming rights. So it could be Akala Field at Roseville Sports
You got
Complex.
basically 10 different fields you can name, probably.
That's
at that
right,
point.
yeah. And
I might
that's-
even be named after one.
That's another part of our sponsorship.
Somebody would have to
plan.
put it in as a recommendation, would they not?
So on the list, if I'm correct, we've got 3 potential options for this: the West Roseville Athletics Park, the Roseville Grand Champions Sports Complex, and the Roseville Sports Complex. Am I understanding kind of the options that apply to this one the best? Are those the 3 kind of that correspond the best to this particular complex?
Those were the ones that were submitted.
Say those again.
If I look at the kind of that list,
Yeah.
West Roseville Athletics Park, Roseville Grand Champions Sports Complex, Roseville Sports Complex.
And to clarify that as well, as long as it's not a name of a person that's not been submitted.
So you could make
the
obviously
more generic names.
you could make it
Add like West to one of the names.
West Roseville
Something,
Athletic Park.
yeah.
Yeah, I like West Roseville just because it kind of says where it is, but at the same time, it's kind of splitting up Roseville. And we're in Roseville, not West Roseville isn't necessarily its own entity. So, but I could work with that one, or adding the
Court.
Longs Field to it
Courts
or something.
to it.
Yeah, sports courts. Make it the Roseville Sports Courts.
The long fields at West Park or something
flows.
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, well, I kind of like that. Longfields at West.
Long fields at West Park, something like that.
West Park's not part of any of the names though, right?
West Park is an area,
So
a
we could do-
geographical area.
It's not this area though, is it? Because that could get confusing.
Yeah, it could get a little confusing.
Yeah.
This is going to be our premier soccer complex for the city, which we hope becomes a regional soccer complex that draws people into our restaurants, our hotels, our city, and people recognize, oh, like the Roseville Aquatics Center, the Roseville Soccer Center. We want people to kind of have an instant recognition of the grandiosity of this field. And I'm not sure we've hit on that yet, have we? I'd like to hear somebody say, how about this?
Yeah, I mean, even if the focus, the reality is it's probably going to be majority soccer. I think even the Roseville Soccer Complex would fit better than just a generic sports complex.
I would agree with that. Roseville Soccer Complex, to a person coming from Napa, they immediately get that.
Nothing against lacrosse or Quidditch or whatever other sport is going to be played there, but
yeah. Well, I don't know.
Is there concern that if the name includes a very specific sport, that it would inhibit looking for other sports?
I will share that some of the facilities that we toured, and you know that we went to Kansas, we went to Nevada, we've looked at a lot of facilities, and many of them were named soccer complex, and that had not presented any problems for them to attract other sports. I mean, if the sport knows what type of field that they can utilize,
Right.
But we were trying to be, I guess, in this recommendation, more inviting to all sports. But to answer your question, no, we're not aware that that's ever presented a problem to other complexes.
Okay. Is it, I mean, since it's not on the list, is Roseville Sports Complex or Soccer Complex even an option for us? Again, because
Yeah, it's a generic name, so.
it's a generic enough name that would be okay.
you can't
Okay.
name it after somebody.
Yep. So do we want to go down that path? Do we want to include it with other options for city? I'm just going to kind of go down and take a polling just to kind of see what kind of a motion we want to put together.
I would include that as one of the options, but if somebody else has something they also like, put it as number 2.
Okay. You guys, any other options that you think?
Yeah, I do think that the name soccer should be in it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And if it was called West Roseville Soccer Complex, I think that is generic as that can be, and it's not, it's something that can be added. That might be a good fit.
Does the West need to be in there? Are you strongly one way or the other, West Roseville or just Roseville?
Yeah, I think we leave West in there. It's not on the east side.
My preference would be Roseville Soccer Complex or West Roseville Soccer Complex would work, but those two.
Okay. You guys
I agree.
on board with those?
I agree, yeah.
So should we put both of those up for city council?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll-
All right,
I'll
so,
make a motion to submit Roseville Soccer Complex and West Roseville Soccer Complex.
all right. All in favor?
Second. Need a second first.
Oh, I'm sorry, a second, sorry.
I'll
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion passes.
Pretty good discussion.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
We have one more. All right, so because we use acronyms quite a bit, we wanted to avoid confusion, and so the subcommittee is recommending that the current Roseville Sports Center, which is a building in Mahaney Park, it also is a fitness and community center, that be renamed Mahaney Fitness Center. It was felt that this new name better fits the activities that occur at this facility. So again, I'll pause and turn it back over to you.
All right, once again, we'll open it up for the commissioners. Any questions, comments?
I think she's.
Does that not include then the fields, the softball fields, and isn't there like a soccer field over there? Or is it just literally the building?
It is the building itself. It doesn't impact any other of the outdoor amenities.
What do we call the fields over there?
We call it the
Like the
all-weather
softball,
fields.
I've had a lot of time at those softball fields.
Yeah, we haven't really named
Okay,
that
okay.
field.
Okay, all right. Okay, any other questions, comments?
I actually thought that was the name already, was Mahaney Sports Complex or Fitness Center. Yeah, I thought that was already the name, so I think it works.
Yeah, if it doesn't include the soccer field or the turf or the fields, then the fitness center is great.
Okay. All right. So before we do any kind of motion, is there any public comment? Yep. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and we will move for a motion. So do I have a motion to change the name of the Roseville Sports Center to the Mahaney Fitness Center?
So moved.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Agenda item 6.2. We have presentation on kind of upcoming community events. We have Alicia Moyer and Kathleen Beatty. Hopefully I pronounced the names right. All right. Welcome.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
There it is. All right, good evening, Commission. My name is Alicia Moyer, and I'm the Recreation and Library Supervisor that has oversight of community events, facilities, and fitness. I'm honored to be presenting with Kathleen Beatty, Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Coordinator, who also oversees community events. We are providing a spotlight presentation on annual community events held by the City of Roseville, Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Department. Annually, we hold 45 community events, which include those such as Wind Down Wednesdays, Friday Flicks, our 4th of July Parade, Family Fest, Turkey Trot, the Downtown Holiday Celebrations, and Neighborhood Santa, just to name a few. Our attendance in 2021 reached 60,692 participants.
Hello, Commission. Excuse me. So we are continuing to see growth in our community events, which is great. Currently, we are at 32,245 for our total attendance. That includes our craft fair that just took place last Saturday, or this Saturday, I should say, where we saw 3,500 people attend, which was awesome. This total does not even include the next 11 events that we have scheduled, which include our downtown holiday celebrations, which are also some of our biggest events. All right, and then now is the fun part, our new events that are coming up. This Thursday, we have our Honoring Veterans event right here in Town Square. It will start at 6 o'clock and it'll go to 7:30. We have our Steam on the Square events. I know some of you actually took part in these events. These take place in June and July, so there's 2 of them, kind of add to our summer festivities. And then the following ones, the flashback trivia on the square, these are brand new. These will take place in the spring, along with Breakfast at the Bunny, or with the Bunny. We're going to do a Shop Local Expo, so that way we can highlight some of our small businesses here in Roseville. We're adding a Sensory Santa to kind of have an inclusive program, too, for everyone. And then to add a little extra to our Wind Down Wednesday, we're going to host a dinner on the bridge, which is going to be great to kick off the whole event series.
All right, here we have a small snapshot of our community events budget. The events you see here on the pie chart are those in which generate about $4,000 or more. I will refer back to those events in just a moment. Our projected revenue for this fiscal year is about $210,438. Our expenses are projected to be about $382,071, giving us a net difference of $171,633. We continue to receive support on the difference from the Strategic Improvement Fund. On the pie chart you see here, I will begin with the rental slice and go clockwise. We receive about 3% of our annual revenue from rentals. Comedy Night generates about 13%. Wind Down Wednesdays generate about 11%. Breakfast with Santa generates about 3%. Turkey Trot, 41%. Grinchmas Stroll, 3%. The craft fair that we just did, 3%. And then 23% of our revenue comes from sponsorships. Our successes. We are very proud to serve our community by providing well-attended, quality events.
We strive on creating new opportunities at our already existing events that our communities love. And those new opportunities, plus the new events Kathleen spoke about earlier, have been a continuing benefit.
Like all things, we do have challenges with our events. So staffing has been a challenge for us this year. It's just we can't hire part-time staff for just our events solely. So we are relying on a lot of full-time staff to come in and help run those, which is great to get their support. But again, that also leads to how much we can offer at these events, the staffing. Budget, we are on a fixed budget, so we can't kind of spend all the money. So it's kind of finding ways, sponsorships to kind of fund the events to keep adding experiences for our community. And then COVID, right? So we're coming out of COVID, so, and that has changed our community and what they expect. Some people feel comfortable coming back out, whereas some people are still kind of reserved. So we have to find that middle balance for our community too at each of those events. And then our vendors. So as we know, businesses have shifted, and so staffing too for our vendors. So they can't always attend our events like they used to. So it's how we shift what we provide at each of our events. And we've noticed in the communities around us, we're seeing a lot of duplication of events. So that means we need to be creative. We need to have new ideas so that way we can attract more people out. All right, so upcoming holiday events that we have coming. Like I talked about earlier, we have our Honoring Veterans event this Thursday, November 10th. It will follow by Turkey Trot on November 24th. And then we'll kick off with our biggest events of the season. That is our tree grove, our tree lighting, our North Pole Tavern, and then that will conclude with our Breakfast with Santa event. Neighborhood Santa will start December 6th through the 15th on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We'll have Grinchmas December 9th, Sensory Santa at Maidu Community Center on December 12th, and then we'll finish up with our Holiday Gingerbread House Factory on December 17th. So we have a packed schedule coming up.
And we will be at all of them.
Yes, and I will be at all of them.
All right, we hope you enjoyed the community events. If you have any questions after this meeting has adjourned, please feel free to reach out to Kathleen or I. And we appreciate you listening, and we'll open it to any questions that you may have right now.
All right. Are there any questions from commissioners?
Dinner on the bridge. Tell us about that. When and
So it was kind of an idea I came up with. I really took inspiration kind of from the Tower Bridge dinner. I've seen that kind of grow over the years. And so we have this beautiful bridge that we did a dedication for a couple years ago. And so I thought that would be a great way to kind of difference us from the communities that are also hosting Wine Down Wednesdays to kind of have a little kickoff event. So it'll be a catered dinner on the bridge, and we will highlight one of our wineries that will be out there that evening.
you have a date?
The first day of Wine Down will be confirmed kind of in a couple weeks because we're going through that process right now.
Sounds good.
All right. We'll see you out there.
Neat program as you described. Very nice.
All right. Anyone else?
I had a quick question on the veterans, honoring the veterans. Is it in the square here, or is it in this little cove where there's the veterans
it'll
wall?
be out here on the square.
Okay.
And so we'll have branches of the military represented. We'll have a kids zone. We'll have the food trucks, live band performance, along with a area for donations, so we can send them over to our troops.
Great.
Then the bunting and stuff is up there.
Yeah,
for that.
so it's
Okay.
up right now, and then we'll add a little extra on Thursday.
Perfect. All right. No other comments from commissioners? All right, we'll open up for public comment. Is there anybody that would like to?
Just more of a thank you. I moved here when I was 12 years old, had a rough childhood, moving around a lot. I knew from the time, I can tell you walking up Foothills Boulevard when I was 13 that I knew I was going to raise kids in Roseville. I can tell you the exact moment it was. And things like this and things like the community events are what kept us here. When my wife and I got together, we always knew we were going to stay in Roseville. That's where we wanted to be. So just thank you. Thank you for the things you put on for our kids.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Bruce Howdershelt, 509 Silverhorn Drive. Thank you for your service. I'm wondering, with the staffing things you mentioned, if you've explored, and I know how proactive you are, so I'm going to think that you did, having some of our high school students who have community service requirements, or some of the scouting troops who would definitely fill a need. And maybe even recruiting council members, I don't know.
Yes. We actually had 20 Key Club members help us out at Family Fest this past September. So
Great.
we were very excited to have them help.
Right.
Yeah.
And Roy, I'm excited about dinner on the bridge too. But
Yeah.
I think we're going to have 2 dinners on the bridge. It's
Sounds fun to me.
Been exploring it. It's an expensive venture, but I think they have a concept in mind, and so do I. So
You want to be the guest speaker?
no, I do not want to be the guest speaker. Thank you for your service to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public comment, and I think thank you very much for your presentation tonight. Thank you. Great job. All right. Next up on our agenda is board member and commissioner staff reports. Is there anything, Jill?
I really don't have anything to add tonight. I just want to express my appreciation to staff. You can see just a small glimpse of all the great work that they do, and they're so creative and hardworking, and so thank you for all that you do. And there's a lot going on, but I really have nothing to add.
Yep, we're looking forward to all the holiday events. All right. If there's no other commissioner reports or anything, then we will open up for a motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.